You ready for some advice? How about a deep dive? Unlike a rapid fire where I just kind of go through and give advice based on the name that people have given the topic. I take one specific topic that kind of catches my eye. Sometimes it's something that's trending and I really get into it. I actually read it. Um, this is one that's been trending this week. It's simply titled 8 Years. So it goes on to say, I've been in a relationship for over 8 years. So, um, congratulations on 8 full years. I suspect that this is not going to be a positive post. We almost got married. So, um, kind of wondering what happened there. Why was it almost? Or is it something that you felt maybe you were there, but maybe they weren't there? I don't know. I've never met his mom in 8 years. He lives with her. He lives with his mom, and you've never met her in 8 years? There's something not right there. For years, everyone thought he had a wife. Nope, that would be more understandable. But literally, he's afraid to leave. Okay, so it kind of sounds like he's afraid to leave his mom. At least that's how this is being set up. It sounds as though maybe there's some kind of attachment disorder that he has. Um, just skimming through later on, it does reveal his age, as well as that it's a he, and the person making this post is a she. He proposed, then decided it was more important, excuse me, to take care of his mom. So again, there's some kind of attachment thing going on. Um, Based on this post being about 3 paragraphs long, I'm assuming we're not going to learn much about his past, what's happened to him as a child, what's happened more currently. I don't even know that the original poster knows, but there's definitely a lot going on with this person's almost fiance. So she goes on to say, it's like a Norman Bates thing. So I don't know that that is the best analogy that one could make, but I understand where she's coming from. She's very frustrated. He's 44 and never lived alone. So, do I toss 8 years? So, I don't see anything saying how old she is, but the guy's 44, has been dating her since he was 36. The whole time he's lived with his mom, and apparently he's very protective of her or something. And he's not letting anybody uh, go in and interact with her in any way, shape, or form. She's wondering if she should call it quits. Um, and this is just the first paragraph. There's two more to go. Um, yeah. So the simple fact that you yourself are already raising this question, it kind of solidifies it for me that he is not what you were looking for. You were looking for so much more, and it's not necessarily that he is attached to his mother or that he is protective of his mother. It's the way in which it manifests. It's not as simple as do you continue on, because regardless, if you do continue on, there has to be some kind of change, and the only way to do that is for you to have an open conversation with your almost fiance. So, tossing 8 years, it kind of sounds like you may have already um, you kind of already made up your mind, but you're at the same time you're also kind of asking for permission in this anonymous forum, and I'd be willing to bet a lot of people, just based on that first paragraph, um, they're going to they're gonna give you that permission just based on him being 44, living at home with his mom. Okay, onward to paragraph 2. Edit. I've been to his house many times because she's been in the hospital. Okay, so again, he's being very protective of her. I don't know if it's a mental hospital, I don't know if it's an illness, I don't know if it's something physical going on. But again, attachment and very overprotective, it seems. I've asked to meet her thousands of times, and he says, I promise, and never allows it. So he says, yeah, it's going to happen, but it just never happens. So, that right there is kind of a red flag to me already. Um, I have no doubt that I myself am also going to give you permission to just move on. He says it's too much for her, and he doesn't want her to know his business. She's too controlling. Also, she would be upset because she's afraid to lose her caretaker. Okay, yeah, so there's definitely some manipulation that's happening. Again, an attachment. This could stem all the way back to his childhood, back to before his brain even had the ability to make memories. She has likely conditioned him this way since, again, before memories. We're talking 44 years here of her doing this to him, and he's not going to change anytime soon. I've offered to help, and he says it's too much for her to meet someone. So it's kind of just repeating something that's already been said, but just with a little bit more information. First of all, good on you for offering to help. The fact that he's not willing to accept your help, though, maybe that is also a negative in his point, in his little column. She's too mentally clouded. It's been just him and her since she divorced his father at 8. Okay. So 8. That would mean that he's been living with her for 36 years now. So it's been a full 36 years. So the divorce very likely hit him very hard mentally. Maybe he didn't understand what was going on. Obviously, it seems as though when they divorced, he went and lived with his mom. And at that point, maybe he didn't want to feel like he was losing anything else, so he clung very tightly to his mother, and it just kind of enabled all this to happen. So paragraph 3. I also want to say I've met everyone in his family, or everybody in his family on his dad's side. His mom has no family. He has 2 stepbrothers and 1 half brother from his dad, and they invite her everywhere. His sister-in-law loves me, and they've never met his mom either. So that paragraph is just kind of like filler. So do I toss 8 years? In this situation, it definitely seems as though you've outlined a lot more negatives than positives. There was no point in this that you spoke about him doing things to make you feel happy or anything like that. It just kind of sounds like you're there in his life, and I'm sure that that's not something you want to feel. So we're gonna go through some of the comments here, and I'm going to, in the deep dive fashion, I'm gonna go through and point out what's good advice, what's bad advice. In general, yeah, I do think it's time for you to move on. So the first comment here is, you wouldn't be tossing 8 years. They happened. They don't go away. So you'd be tossing the next 8 years, the ones you think could happen. Only you can decide where you'll be in 8 years. So this person focused on the 8 year timeline, and they they kind of miss the point, and they're trying to sound very profound in what they're saying. Um, the 8 years, you're not tossing them away. They don't go away. They happened. That's missing the point. The point is starting over completely fresh, where those 8 years in a new relationship don't exist. They haven't happened yet. Um, and they don't even give an answer. They're saying only you can decide where you'll be in 8 years. That's not really the point of what Reddit r/advice is. A person under them commented, "That's not just relationship advice. That's some grade A life advice. I'm gonna remember this." That was actually horrible advice. It's talking around the point. It's saying something without actually saying something. Don't remember that. It's horrible advice. Ugh. Oh my God, there's so many people who are saying that's great advice. It's horrible advice. It's very poorly worded. Oh, jeez. So, yeah, look. Okay, somebody's kind of pointing out there. Maybe he's collecting Social Security. No, I doubt it. This stems clearly from some kind of a mental disorder, some kind of attachment disorder. Somebody says, "Please go enjoy your life. Don't waste another year. I'm sorry for this. Find yourself, then find somebody else." That right there is a really good advice. It's not about it's about finding yourself and finding out what you want in life. We know that the guy's 44 years old. We don't know about the age of the poster, the female. Um, if she's around the same age as him, then maybe you need to get on it. If you're much younger, what is it that attracted you to this guy in the first place? That's something really important that was never really addressed here. Another person says it's a sunk cost. He has shown you who the priority is, and it's not you. I'm very sorry, but go now and live your life. So there is a sunk cost fallacy where maybe, if you've been in a relationship for 8 years, you think that it has to get better at some point because you've already invested 8 years into it. So what's another year? Well, a year goes by, now it's 9 years, and you think, well, what's one more year? Then you got 10 years, and you just keep going and going because you've already invested so much time into this, and it's really hard to just cut it off. But it seems like that's the best option for this person. Another comment: what's 8 years compared to tossing the rest of your life? So this is a decent sized comment. The opening to that, what's 8 years compared to tossing the rest of your life? That could be very open ended. It could be good. It could be bad. I'm hoping it's good because I see some bullet points in what they're saying. So let's get into it. When I met my now husband, we couldn't wait to meet each other's families and learn more about each other. That is a really good thing to point out. obviously, different people are going to have different things that are normal, but in general, meeting other, your significant other's entire family, that's something usually people look forward to. And the fact that this has been 8 years and you've never met his mother, that's a negative. That's not good. That's not going away. So they go on to say, that's weird as hell that you've never met her once. To me, this means, and this is where we get into the bullets, she probably doesn't want to, but I feel like I feel like normal moms would want to meet their child's significant other. Yeah, it's not, it isn't just exciting for you to meet your significant other's family, but it's usually also exciting for their family to meet you, and it's something that they want to do. Now, there are some cases where maybe they'd be less excited about it, but the fact that you've been dating for 8 years and this is how it's ultimately gone, again, there's a lot going on there. So she probably doesn't want to, because I feel like normal moms would want to meet their child's significant other. If the above is true, that means he's a wimp and didn't defend you and make his mom see what he sees, therefore canceling your wedding. Next bullet point. He doesn't think the relationship is significant enough. So they come right out and they say the poster's almost fiance is a wimp, and I can't disagree with that. Again, I think that what he really needs is some form of therapy to work through his attachment disorders. Unfortunately, this late in life, with this much conditioning, it's gonna be a while until he is like normal, if normal is even a thing. They go on to say he's too old to still be living at home. So I don't necessarily agree just with that one sentence. We don't know if maybe, family was really big in his upbringing. I mean, it doesn't sound like his mom ever remarried, and it sounds like she's really just interested in her son. But family could be a very big cultural thing. We don't know anything about his culture at all. He'll only marry you once his mom has died, and that'll only be because he needs a surrogate mom. Okay, so that's a decent thing to bring up. He will be a burden on you, I promise you. You need an equal partner, not a middle-aged man-child. So this person just comes right out and says what probably a lot of people are thinking, but instead they beat around the bush with stupid comments that say things without actually saying things. This is definitely going to be the top comment. Somebody replied, or maybe he's never told his mom he has a partner, and if that's the case, ... Again, you're saying something without saying anything. Don't even bother. So, in conclusion, and by the way, there's over 200 comments on this. I unfortunately don't have time to go through all of them. I just kind of went through and picked some of the ones that looked like they were upvoted a lot, or they themselves had some decent substance. So in conclusion, it's been 8 years. Unless he's going to go to some kind of therapy, which will take many years for him to get to a point where he would be okay with change, going forward, nothing is going to change. So if nothing changes, then nothing changes. I say break it off, figure out what you want in your life, and then start dating again. and make sure that this does not happen again. What is it that attracted you to him in the first place? And even more importantly, what is it that kept you there for 8 years? I feel like there's a lot of people out there who would have cut this off at 4 years. A lot of people would have cut it off at 2 years. Some people probably would have cut it off after a couple months. There were probably a lot of signs there. We don't know what all happened in the past in this relationship. We don't know how committed he was then, how committed he is now. But in general, break it off, focus on yourself, and then figure out how to move forward. And that's all we got for today. Have a good evening.